Welcome to the October 8th, 2024 City Council work session. I'd now like to turn it over to City Manager Benda to walk us through the agenda overview.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. You can recognize by the packed staff area and also the agenda, we've got quite a few things to get through today. We'll move smartly. For our work session, we'll have a bid process that you've gone through before. We have our LRBA, Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance CEO, with us, Megan Lucas, and also our Office of Economic Development and Tourism, Margette Epsher, that will bring you some economic development updates. Then a couple business item briefings, and you know what those are. Those are those items that we brief you on ahead of a vote. So there are a few of those. We will have roll call and 2 closed session items. Before, Mayor, I turn it back to you. I have 3 quick updates. Those are here. White Rock. On September 28th, White Rock Baptist Church hosted the community kickoff for the White Rock Elementary School project. More than 65 residents attended the meeting with robust conversation. The next opportunity for engagement around the project is the Community Pitch Day on Saturday, November 16th. Next, we have the CSO project. You have received on Friday an invitation to the groundbreaking event for the Blackwater CSO Tunnel project on Tuesday, October 29th at 4 p.m. The Blackwater CSO Tunnel project is the largest capital investment project in the city's history. The project involves the construction of a nearly mile-long, 12-foot wide underground tunnel underneath the Blackwater Creek that will serve as a storage tank for up to 4.7 million gallons of excess combined sewage and stormwater during significant rainfalls, keeping it from overflowing into our waterways. Last of which is a highlight. And finally, this Thursday, October 10th from 5 to 8 p.m., the downtown branch of the Lynchburg Public Library will host the first Books and Brews at the Lynchburg Community Market. This family-free event sponsored by Star Hill, local vendors, food trucks, will involve things or activities for kids and more. With that, Mayor, I turn it back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. We'll now move on to our work session agenda items. City of Lynchburg and Griffin Pipe Products Company, LLC, ingress egress easement bid opening and acceptance. Ms. Finney, how many bids have been received?
Madam Mayor, as a result of advertisement placed and used in advance on September 12th and then again on the 20th, one bid was received on October 1st by Griffin Pipe Products.
Can you please read the bid?
I have a letter of commitment that reads, please accept this letter of commitment on behalf of Griffin Pipe Products Company, LLC, as a bid being submitted pursuant to the invitation for bids and public hearing advertisement published in the news in advance regarding the grant conveyance of an ingress egress easement upon the City of Lynchburg owned property located at 4 Adams Street, Lynchburg, Virginia. An original executed acceptance page of the proposed ordinance authorizing the grant and conveyance of such easement accompanies this letter of commitment. This is signed by Nick I cannot say that. I apologize, Nick, the general counsel for Griffin Pipe.
Okay. Are there any additional bids offered?
That's the only one that I received.
Okay. Anyone here have a bid? No? Okay. There's no additional, or if there are no additional bids, I declare the bidding closed. Is there a motion to accept this sole bid?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second to accept the bid?
Second.
Okay, thank you. We go ahead and vote then?
Not everybody is in on the system, so I'll call for a voice vote.
Okay.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hegelson? Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Great. Public hearing will be conducted tonight at 7 p.m. to hear from the members of the public regarding the adoption of an ordinance granting the easement to the successful bidder. Moving on to the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance overview of site and building readiness, Ms. Megan Lucas.
Hi, everyone.
I like your jacket.
Thank you. You know, there's a lot of pink in the room today in honor or in supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So the more pink, the better, to remind folks. It's good to see you all. Thanks for having me here today. Vice Mayor Feraldi, happy birthday. Happy. I'd sing, but I'm not allowed to sing in public anymore. So consider yourself lucky.
I remember.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to give you an overview, some situation awareness about sites and buildings. All of you have known me for quite a while, and you've heard me talk about in the world of economic development, sites and buildings is one of the hurdles that we have in the region. In interest of time, how about I go through the PowerPoint presentation and then open it up for questions? Or would you all prefer to interrupt and ask questions as we go? I'm good either way. Do you have a preference?
Why don't you go ahead and finish
Okay.
your presentation and then we'll go.
Happy to.
Thank you.
Happy to. So this PowerPoint presentation is titled Sites and Buildings. We call it the regional hurdles. And those you see those shoes there, that's Margette and I working diligently to clear the hurdles every day. I think some of you have seen this. I've received phone calls from you from time to time. We see these headlines on a regular basis, every which way but us. An announcement in Roanoke County for jobs and capital investment, announcement at the Stanton River Regional Industrial Authority, announcement of 200 jobs, Roanoke Valley, 160 jobs, Danville, the new Town Creek Center, more jobs, more capital investment. We can, I could fill a big slide deck with headlines from communities around us and communities that we have competed with getting new jobs and capital investments in their community. And oftentimes when an announcement is made, my phone rings, Margette's phones ring, and probably yours as well. And they'll ask, why them and not us? Why that community and not ours? And that's what we're going to talk about. Before I get into that, I'm going to set the playing field. When we talk about economic development from the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance's perspective, we are charged with economic development in the industrial sector. And when we talk about economic development, we oftentimes talk in terms of basic industry and non-basic industry, or outside inside. Basic industry is the industry that the Alliance focuses on recruiting and retaining in the region. Those are the manufacturers, the industries that produce a product in this region, sell the product outside the region, and return those dollars into the region to be circulated. That's what we call basic industry, or sometimes you'll hear me refer to them as primary jobs. Non-basic industry is the recirculation of money that's already existing in the region. So that would be your merchants, that would be retail, and fast food, gas stations, and grocery. That's non-basic industry. In other words, we need to have basic industry. Manufacturing in this region we need to grow it, sustain it, and recruit new in order to see growth in the non-basic industry. Does that make sense? A lot of times when I have this discussion, people will always say, when are we getting a Wegmans? Or where's the Trader Joe's? Or, insert whatever retail there. But it's important for me to make sure people understand the difference between basic and non-basic. Basic is the high wage jobs that produce something in the region, sell it outside the region with a return of dollars coming back into the region to then be circulated. Okay? The path to success. So we talk about economic development and you see all these headlines about a company choosing another location, a location other than this amazing location. I want to let you know that the site selection process is a game of elimination. All of the communities, not all, but communities in a section of the community get put on a company's list. And that company then hires a group, site consultant to eliminate communities. Can't be that community because they don't have rail. Can't be that community because they don't have the power infrastructure we need. Let's mark that community off the list because it doesn't have the workforce that we need. They're looking for ways to eliminate all this. And then what's left are the communities that have some or most of what that company is looking for their next relocation. So the site selection process is about site elimination. This, I think, is an important stat, the second bullet. When you look at that and you think about this region and this city is a remarkable place to do business. Of course, everybody should want to do business here, but it's competitive. There are over 3,100 counties in the country. 3,100 counties in the United States that we're competing with. There are over 19,000 municipalities in the United States that we are competing with, and more than 90,000 taxing jurisdictions in the country that we are competing with. So we think, of course, that company's going to choose us, or of course, that company's going to choose to expand here. Why wouldn't they? The reality is we're competing with those numbers. That's who we are competing with. Success for this region includes industry retention as well as industry recruitment. A well thought out and a well executed economic development strategy includes both. And this region is very successful at retention. We've seen it. We saw it last year with the announcements from Delta Star and Framatome. The year before that with the announcement from BWXT. We are good in this region at retaining the manufacturers who call us home. We're very good at that. The other side of that coin for growing and sustaining our economic vitality is the recruitment piece. And so success includes both. Companies look at the region first for the labor shed. I know Councilman Wilder, in fact, all of us talk about from time to time about workforce issues and workforce initiatives. When I first got into economic development, it was always about the site. A company was looking for the site. Where's the site? Where can I find the site? But as the economy compresses and workforce compresses, companies now are saying, I'm looking for the community that can either meet my workforce needs or my sites and building needs. If we find a location that has the workforce needs and not the building, then we may work more closely with that locality to get there, or vice versa. Those two factors, labor shed and product availability, help make the decision. There's no location in the country today that has both the workforce and both the site or building that a manufacturer is looking for. It's a mix of either or, and neither are at 100%. companies, a region, companies like all of us are risk averse. So when we talk about economic development and we're talking about how to get companies to select us, we talk about bringing down their cost or the risk of doing business in our region. And here are some of the things that we talk about that we do, Marjette's team does, my team does on a regular basis to help companies be less risk averse in looking at our region. Certainly marketing of industrial sites, access points, locations free of litter, realtor assistance, site development. The Economic Development Department, along with our office, work on removing trees, removing structures, remediations of sites, pad-ready constructions. If a company comes and looks at a site and that site is full of trees, what do you think the company thinks? Anyone? They want to know what we're hiding. What are the trees hiding that keeps a company from going there? So when we have a site, we have to clear it of trees. We have to grub it. We have to get it clean so the company can look at the site and see potentially themselves there. That's a risk. Clean up the site. The due diligence is a process we go through to making sure a site is ready to receive industrial. Is the site clear? Does the site have any waterways on it? Is the site have archaeological things on it? In Virginia, you can't kick a rock without hitting something that is archaeologically significant. That's a risk, and that's a risk to a company looking at a site. So the economic development team looks at those sites and get those sites ready, and that has occurred in this region. The due diligence I talked about. Due diligence has about 12 key elements that a site has to go through for a company to feel comfortable that we've eliminated and managed the risk on the site. And that goes to things that I've just mentioned: archaeological, wastewater, environmental, geotechnical, and so forth. Ownership of the land. Is the land publicly owned or privately owned? Privately owned, excuse me. And of course, what is the infrastructure? We've got great industrial parks in the Lynchburg region. The Ivy Creek Innovation Park has this infrastructure in place. And quite frankly, in the region, most of our industrial parks have really great infrastructure in place. So these are the risks that we've already been managing in this region on behalf of our communities. So what is a site? When a manufacturer is looking for a site, is that for me, sir?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So when a company is looking for a site in the region, they're looking for land that's available for them to get up and running. When we show them a site filled with trees, the mind goes, what is that hiding? We don't know if there's a waterway there. We don't know what archaeological information is there. We don't know if there's a geothermal pool under there. We just don't know. And so a company sees that site and they see risk and they see long time to get there before it's a prep site. They also see no due diligence. So we don't call this a site. This is a site. This is a pad-ready site. See the difference? It's clear of all debris. It's clear of infrastructure. You can't, you should be able to tell by looking at that site is a compacted site. It has been compacted. It is ready to receive footers. It is ready to receive the beginning of a building. If you look on the side of that slide, you'll see in this region, we have 3 pad-ready sites. So those are 3 sites that are ready for a manufacturer to select and begin the building process on. Bedford County has a pad-ready site at 200,000 square feet. It is a Tier 5 site by the state standards. Amherst County also has a pad-ready site, 200,000 square feet. It is a Tier 5 site. It is ready to go by the state standards. Alta Vista has a 30,000 square foot pad-ready site. It is a Tier 5 site. It is ready to go by state standards. Tier 5 means that the company that chooses it can get there, can get a hold of the site and get up and running much more quickly than this sort of site. So in this region, we have 3 pad-ready sites. Now, when I got here about 12 years ago, the push was for pad-ready sites. But as with all things in business, it's about competition and speed to market. So today, actually since COVID, the switch has been from pad-ready sites to spec buildings because competition is fierce in manufacturing, fierce in industry, and companies want to be up and running as fast as possible. So now a lot of the companies are looking for modern, available buildings, manufacturing buildings. This is a pad-ready site. This, when we talk about site planning, this is not a site plan. These are plats. It's a piece of land that's been platted out. This is a site plan. Site plan goes in, identifies the best location for buildings, puts the infrastructure in place. You'll see the transportation infrastructure in here, as well as power, water, sewer. This is what a site plan looks like. We talk about the region, we have public industrial parks. This slide gives you an idea. These are the publicly owned industrial parks in the region. All but one of these industrial sites, which is in Appomattox County, the Appomattox Center for Business and Commerce is predominantly greenfield, meaning it's beautiful pasture with lots of hills and topography. But everything else, all the other industrial parks in this region are good industrial parks with that risk taken away. The risk meaning they're identified as an industrial park. They've got power, water, sewer there. They've got good infrastructure in place to receive. What they don't have are pad-ready sites or existing industrial buildings for them to utilize. The challenges to sites, just like if we were building a house, the challenges are going to be similar, just grander in scale. Cost of site improvements is spectacular. Speed to market, you heard me mention. When a company is when they call us, they've already been through that process of elimination. We have made the short list, and they are wanting to know, how fast can I get up and running in the Lynchburg market, Megan? How quickly can we be up and running before our competitors realize we're coming to that market, we're coming to the Eastern Seaboard. So speed to market is really critical in today's stage. And it's very critical when dealing not only with companies that are US companies, but we're seeing it more and more in foreign direct investment. The European companies want to get here and plugged in before their competitors realize that they've come to the United States. In this region, we have buildings and sites that are various stages of preparedness. We have some of our sites have outdated or non-existent plans. Plans have to be updated on a regular basis, a 3 to 5 year basis. We have sites that are not cleared or graded. And quite frankly, the clearing and the grading are, I think, the most expensive part of without a doubt, site management. And of course, everybody has an aversion to risk. The largest square foot industrial parks buildings we have in this region, I put on the slide for you. Amherst County has Old Virginia Brick. Appomattox, the town of Appomattox has a Thomasville building that has about 250,000 square feet available in that. It's a great square footage, but the ceiling height is 22. 1 in 100 companies will take a 22-foot clear ceiling. It's not functional anymore. Bedford had the Teva Pharmaceutical Building. The Teva Pharmaceutical Building was 480,000 square feet. That has recently, you probably saw the headline, recently purchased by Solarix, a solar component manufacturing company who has selected this region to grow in. Campbell County and Alta Vista, they have an existing building of 192,000 square feet on 100 acres with rail, and that is the Sanficom building. That is privately owned, and there is a big distinction between privately and publicly owned. And in Lynchburg, we have the Jefferson Ridge location, as well as Robbins Road. So large square foot inventory, we're talking about 100,000 square feet or larger. Manufacturers who are looking to relocate or grow into this region are looking for a minimum of 100,000 square feet industrial space with 34-foot clear in the region. Existing building challenges, I think I've hit this a little bit already. Outdated infrastructure, low ceilings as I talk about the building in Appomattox, costly upgrades to existing outdated buildings. We have a limited inventory, and in some cases we have uncooperative owners, and we lack the availability of 100,000 square feet industrial buildings with 34-foot clears or larger. Here's a slide that I think you might be interested in. So when I got here years ago, one of the things we started doing was really tracking the data for the region. And what this slide shows you is since 2018, now I can go back as far as 2014, but for this snapshot, I started with 2018. If you look at this represents the companies, the jobs, and the capital investment who have come through this region looking to land here. Now, I understand we don't hit what is it, about 1,000 every time? We wouldn't have gotten every single one of these. But if we'd have just gotten one a year or one every other year, a difference it would make in growing this regional economy, the economy of our market. So you'll see for requests for sites from 2018, the total number is 47. The requests for buildings from 2018 to 2024 is a total of 59. And look at 2022. I went back and double checked that figure. In 2022, I had 0 RFPs for people looking for pad-ready sites. They were all looking for existing buildings. And then you see farther down on the list, the number of jobs. So from 2018 to 2024, the number of jobs represented in those companies is 21,000. And if you look at the capital investment for all of those projects, it's over $18 billion in capital investment. These are companies who say, we can see ourselves in Lynchburg. We can see ourselves in your school system. We can see ourselves in your restaurants. We want to be in your community. But do you have another 100, 200, 300, 400, 500,000 square foot facility that's ready to go in the region? And the answer to that is no. And then I hear them, they show up in those headlines that I showed you in the beginning, or they show up in Alabama. We had a prospect, all of you, I think, were aware of Project Gray Platinum. Gray Platinum wanted to be in this region. They loved this region. They wanted to be here, but the building didn't meet their needs. And they found a building in Alabama that was a campus that somebody had let go, and it met their needs more readily. It wasn't that there was anything bad about this region. They wanted to be here, but they could see themselves in that existing building and that existing campus, and they couldn't see the whole build out here. They wanted to be here. That happens all the time. We bring those companies to town. They tour the city. They tour the restaurants. They stay in either the Virginian or the Craddock Terry. They meet all of you. They meet our business leaders, our CEOs. They engage with higher education. They engage with K through 12, and they leave saying, "We want to be in your region. Where's the existing building?" And then it just stalls from there. This is how we go about growing and sustaining our regional economy, the Lynchburg economy. The long-term game is jobs and capital investment for all of our citizens. Clearing the hurdles. We have made progress. You all have made progress utilizing programs like Go Virginia. We utilized Go Virginia to do some due diligence on Jefferson Ridge. Regionally, we've used the Go Virginia to extend a gas line to Deering Ford and work on site preparedness with Amelon and Brockman. We continue to build relationships with brokers, both within the region and within the state. Work to get additional properties throughout the region characterized, and of course, work with Margette, as well as all the other local economic developers to get sites in the Virginia Business Ready Site Program. Progress that Lynchburg has made, $450,000 in a state grant for development of the Airport Commerce Park and Ivy Creek Innovation Park. There's a lot of great things about the opportunity at the Airport Commerce Park. One of those is gas. European companies who look to come to this region, who want to be in this urban hub, need to have industrial sites that have gas, and gas is available at the airport park. Due diligence has been completed on the Airport Commerce Park and Ivy Innovation. Council has been supportive of CIP projects to continue the development towards pad-ready sites in the region, and the access road and utility extensions approved for Ivy Creek and Innovation Park A and B in fiscal year 25. Progress is being made. But then we get to spec buildings. You heard me say in the beginning, when I started 10 plus years ago, it was pad-ready sites. As the economy changes, as it ebbs and flows, it constricts and expands, companies need to be up and running fast, and they're going to the community who can put them in a building as quick as possible. That spec building it's not a complete build out. A spec building can be 3 walls and a roof. Spec building can be 4 walls, a roof, no floor. Right? You want to have just the shell in place so the company can choose it and they can make the finishing touches that meet their needs, with floor thickness, especially with cranes in the roof. In the region right now, we've had these following spec buildings in the past few years. We've had more spec buildings than that in the region, but right now on the market, Amherst County just completed a 48,000 square foot spec building in Amelon Industrial Park that has 36-foot clear. It can be a single tenant user or it can be a multi-tenant user. Campbell County, when I first started here, Mike Davidson created a 10,000 square foot spec building. That 10,000 square foot spec building is now being expanded to 30,000 square feet. And Campbell County announced last year that they were going to build a 100,000 square foot spec building in Seneca Industrial Park. Bedford County, as you may recall, had a 40,000 square foot spec building. That's where Belvac chose to expand to because they had a building that was readily available. What's ahead? Continue to work on pad-ready sites. Continue to do site improvement work on the sites and buildings in this region. Work to create partnerships with developers and our local stakeholders and our municipal partners, and really look towards doing some sort of spec building program. When we want to, supporting economic development and looking at what's ahead, keep in mind what you can do to support Airport Commerce Park and Ivy Creek Innovation Park. Those are the critical and the best opportunities for landing new jobs and capital investment in this region. And we talk about what does success look like. Success is retaining those existing primary jobs that call us home. Success is when we compete for Delta Star's expansion, when we compete for Framatone's expansion, when we compete for BWXT's expansion, when we compete for Bausch & Lomb's expansion. Those are competitive projects. Those companies have locations in other states. Remember that first slide, 3,100 counties, over 19,000 jurisdictions, over 90,000 taxing jurisdictions, or 19,000 municipalities, 90,000 taxing jurisdictions. Those are who we're competing with. And so our manufacturers who have other locations, they're saying to those locations, what can you do for me? What can you do if I choose to do this expansion in Ohio versus Lynchburg, in California versus Lynchburg, in Calgary versus Lynchburg? So we're competing even with those companies that call us, that already love us and call us home. Doesn't matter how much they love us. It's about the cost of doing business. It's about how successful they are in this region. So retaining those jobs, those great jobs that pay a high wage, that then go into supporting our grocery stores, our restaurants, our car sales, our coffee shops, our retail. We have to have those jobs. So we do a really good job on retaining the companies that call us home. We have to also work on generating an environment for new jobs and new capital investment in the region. You know this from walking your districts. Nothing has a greater impact on anybody than a job. Nothing has a bigger impact of anything we can do. We have a job that pays a good wage. That allows us to support our family. That allows us to support our community philanthropically. That allows us to be engaged. So at the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, on the economic development side of the house, we're focused on trying to retain those industries that call us home. We do that with our partner, Margette, and her staff, as well as creating an environment for companies to say, when they say we want to be in your region, do you have X? We say yes, and here it is. With that, I open it up for questions.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Winter, thank you for the water.
You're welcome.
Any questions from council?
Related or unrelated?
Council Missions?
How are you?
I'm good, Marty. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So I just want to make sure I heard correctly in the beginning because I don't think the slide made it in there.
Sure.
Is that right? 3,100 counties and 90,000 taxing jurisdictions?
Yeah, in the United States.
90,000?
Yeah, yeah.
I think we found the problem.
That's the slide talking about who we're competing with. A lot of times we think, oh, and I don't know if the general population of all of us, those of us in it are always thinking about the competition for jobs and companies. But generally speaking, we're competing. We are competing with 3,100 other counties.
But there's 3,100 counties.
Yep, 19,000 municipalities
90,000
and 90,000
taxing jurisdictions
in the United States.
Yeah.
That's who we're competing
That's
with.
crazy.
Isn't it?
Taxes
Yeah.
are too high.
Yeah, yeah. That's who we're competing
That's
with.
the problem. Yeah, and
That's who
we
we're
need to do
competing
everything
with.
we can do to make sure that taxes aren't high here.
Yeah,
Because right now we're in the top 10% of the Commonwealth, and we need to do everything we can do to make it more inviting so we can keep the cost of doing business down.
in the community, in the projects that we've advanced on, the discussion about taxes is not been an issue. It hasn't been a tipping point or a discussion point. Like there hasn't been a negative response. They ask about it, but again, they're comparing us to California, Chicago,
But we
Ohio.
don't want the employees to be living in the counties if we can help it.
Yeah.
You know, we want to bring those people, not only those businesses here, but we want to keep those people in the
Want to
city.
keep the people. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Other thoughts, questions, related or unrelated? Who's going to win the football game tonight?
Not us, we're here.
We're going to win. We're going to win the game tonight.
So on that note,
Yeah.
so taxes aren't a big concern of what people that you talk
Taxes
to.
are always a concern. They're always asked. So when we get a prospect that comes this way, you know, when you make out your grocery list, we're going to need chicken, eggs, lettuce, green beans, pinto beans, and, you know, all this fun stuff. When that RFP comes to us, it's a grocery list. And we're giving them that information. So they're asking us for the taxing information in this jurisdiction. But in the 10 plus years I've been here with the projects we've been working on, our taxes have not been a tipping point to say, no, we cannot consider you.
Right. So
And remember, companies receive incentives.
Sure. So if that hasn't been a tipping point, and obviously we're looking at the things that you've listed as far as, you know, square footage and and ceiling height and so forth like that, being pad ready and all those things. Are there any other things that have been a consistent concern about Lynchburg specifically that, you know, us as a council need to consider and things that we can?
It's a smart question, Mayor. I will tell you that in this competitive environment of recruiting industries to the region, it's all about existing buildings. It's what it's about. The company that ended up, that Gray Platinum that we worked on, the past projects that we've been working on, they're not here 99% of the time. They're not here because somebody else had a better building. Somebody else had a building that's ready or near ready for them. And that's, in some cases, you know, who knew that in Alabama, there was a manufacturing campus that had been, you know, closed for automotive reasons that ended up being the perfect fit for Project Gray Platinum, who wanted to be here. And the same goes for any number of it. The predominant reason is companies are so concerned about speed to market. They are laser focused on how can I get up and running in that community as quick as possible. And to do that, it's an existing building. They know if they get an existing building, we can answer the workforce. We can answer what we're doing with our existing workforce and recruiting and upskilling and training for jobs. We can answer that. And that can be done pretty quickly. We can't get a building up in 6 months. We can't get a spec building ready for them. And so what I typically will say is, hey, I don't have that 300,000 square foot building now, but Margette will have one for a site ready for you in 3 years in Ivy Creek, or 4 years. And the company's like, no, I got to be up and running by Q4 or Q3 of 2025. So the number one reason, if you look at these, the number one reason we haven't been able to cut the ribbon on these is going to be a pad-ready site, an existing building. And the number one thing is this existing building. And the existing building does we have existing buildings in the region, but in the city of Lynchburg, those buildings are their age makes it difficult for a modern day manufacturing facility, manufacturer to want to go in and put the capital investment into upgrade a building. They would rather see us with a spec building. And again, a spec building, just like a spec house, it's not completely finished. A spec house is more finished, but a spec building can be 3 walls and a roof. It can be 4 walls and a roof. It doesn't have a cement floor. It doesn't have the crane in it. The company knows if they pick this spec building, that they can be up and running in 6 months, because all they got to do is finish it. All they got to do is finish it. Now, I'll tell you that what some of the localities are doing outside of you, Amherst, Bedford, and Campbell, is on their pad-ready sites, they're getting construction docks. So a municipality like Amherst, or, you know, pick any one of them with a pad-ready site, they're not ready to put a spec building on, but they know if they can get construction docks ready, that again compresses the timeline for a company to move into that site. Taxes always play a role, but comparatively with the states and communities that we are competing against, when we've gotten to the end, it has not been the tipping point. The tipping point is if you've got the building, they're coming and they're gonna make that work.
Got it. Vice Mayor Feraldi?
In your opinion, what is the number one thing that we could do to shorten that gap?
I can answer that. If it's okay. And Megan,
Yeah.
we talked about this, that while low taxes are impactful, what I think, I hope that you hear in there is a but for construction. Is that, and don't want to get out over my skis, Megan, you do this every day, is that unless there is an incentive, and again, the state's only but a finite number, and the locality, and that when we've talked about things that have come to other places, part of that prospect, part of how they've been able to capture is there have been local investment to ensure that the expense, the overhead, again, the costs associated. So if I put practical sinew and muscle to the bone, the 1 point something that we have for Ivy Creek right now gets you a driveway. The topography for it to make it level, like she showed you, is $12 million, right? And that hasn't even begun. And Mr. Taylor, you probably can give me a per square foot building. So if it's a 100,000 square foot building and you do the math on what it is per square foot to build, that's your number. So what I'd say is, as we contemplate future, she showed two places. There was airport and Ivy Creek. As we contemplate, the one thing I would ask you to consider in out years of 26, 27 CIP is more investment in site creation, not site pad ready. Remember what she said, existing buildings. We have older buildings. KDC1 is a perfect example that
1911.
made chapstick, right? And guess what? It made cosmetics for a number of years. And we've courted people that have been interested in the building because it's a building that has certain components. But you can imagine that those things that made chapstick years and years and years ago haven't really been invested in. And so for us to take that existing building, it is less expensive to build new than it is to repurpose. And that's the hard thing. And that's privately held. So the interest for us, or at least what you've asked, Mr. Vice Mayor, and again, if you disagree with me, Megan, I think one of the things is, as we plan, part of today was to help you respond to your constituents that ask you consistently why this place over here was chosen as opposed to Lynchburg. One of the things I'd ask you to consider is the buildings that we need to create ourselves to make the investment in to ensure that we're competing for those companies to be here and be able to say, we're not only we'll see you in 5, we'll see you right now. So that's what I'd offer.
So that is a wonderful answer, one that I got every bit of, and I'm not intending this to be demeaning in anyone watching at home, but it's because I've heard you say that before. I've heard you say that countless times. Break that down to a tweet. What does that mean to the people watching at home that you think we need to do?
How many characters are in a tweet?
180.
180. It might be difficult.
No, I think that 180, Chris, for me would be increased wages, increased job opportunities, invest in spec building program, for industrial spec building program.
So that's that last bit.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't normally tweet, so.
Yeah, it comes down to thinking about jobs and wages. You've heard me say this, and I mean no disrespect, but a low-wage job doesn't create a high-wage job. High-wage jobs support all other jobs. And so all of you have constituents who want a better life, who want a job, who want a better job, who want a better job than a better job. And we all want a thriving economy. And to do that, we've got to continue to grow our economic base. And we grow our economic base when we focus on the basic industry. So for years, we've had what we've needed, but it's long-term. And so the answer would be putting money into CIP to create to build a spec building.
Yeah. So thank you. I hear you, and I understood every word, and I appreciate the description. I just want to make sure for those who are telling us what we should do, when folks are watching at home, what the professionals say, hey, this is what we really think you should be focusing on.
Yeah, and we
So
see
that's
this.
helpful. Thank you both.
You see the high, we want to see our name, Lynchburg, in these headlines. We want these companies choosing us, and they're calling us. The companies are calling us. They're saying, I want to be there. And I'm saying, I got what you need. I got the school system. We've got the great health care. We've got great fire, public safety. One of the biggest things that helps us is our fire and safety and police. That is a big thing when it comes to this region. Why? Because we have a competitive advantage because we're home to the nuclear industry. And companies who also deal in volatile materials look to this region because we've got a public safety network that can manage that and is trained for that. That's a competitive advantage. We've got a competitive advantage in water. We've got a competitive advantage in workforce. We've got a great workforce here, a workforce that's willing to be upskilled and retrained and learn new things and get a higher wage. We have to have a balance of both. Retaining those companies that call us home. We do a great job. Margette does an amazing job of retaining the companies that call us home. But we've got to have new companies because at some point, those sectors and those industries are going to contract. And where do we have to contract to? So the answer would be look to the future, look at the long-term investment of creating a spec build, just one spec building. One spec building can pay for another spec building. But landing those companies with these jobs, with these capital investments.
Dr. Weiler?
Thank you so much. We get this question so many times and I'm trying to find the right answers to
Yeah.
let people know. So this presentation has been very helpful in answering some of those questions. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Anytime you want to know more or see some of the stats, I'm happy to sit down and share that with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Did you have something to say, Councilman Taylor? Okay, I just want to be mindful of the time, so it's 4:40. So let's try to wrap this conversation up by 4:50. Go ahead, if you have permissions.
Really quick, and it's actually for Mechi. Just to put a pin in so I don't forget about this. She mentioned the public safety aspect of this. What she's talking about specifically is hazmat capabilities.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right now, we aren't a VDEM-funded hazmat team. That might be something we need to think about with that legislative agenda. And I just didn't want to forget it.
Yeah.
Because there's a significant difference in funding that is available if we were to get a state-funded hazmat team, which would ensure the longevity of us being able to provide those resources without a strain on the local tax base.
Marty, we have 2 active projects right now, and both of them require as much hazmat training as we have in the region. And they.
But the training is good. You have to have the money for the perishable, consumable equipment because that stuff is expensive, and when you use it, you toss it. And right now,
But it's an advantage that we
Yeah.
have, so we support that growth.
So
I think, to kind of wrap it up, what I'm hearing you say, and I think that we all need to just remember here is that we have such an asset with the colleges and universities we have in our region. And we also have an asset in our trades programs that we have that develop directly into industrial. So what I say all the time is, if we focus on educating our students in our K through 12 and getting them prepared to go into the CTE and the trade programs to feed right into these industrial, then they are workforce ready.
Yep.
We have to do a great job in our schools to get them ready. So we've got to keep focusing on that. And then when we have these 5 colleges and universities that have this talent right at our fingertips, we have this waste of not keeping them here with jobs available to them.
Yeah.
So it is so essential that we do try to make ourselves competitive and have these high-paying jobs for both our, kids coming out of high school that are want to go right into trades, and then our college graduates who we want to stay here. We want to keep our college graduates here, and we have a plethora of great talent. So I think this is just so crucial that we do what it takes to have these jobs here. And I just appreciate the hard work that both you and Margette are doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's
Appreciate
my
it.
pleasure. I appreciate all of you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Likewise. Oh, sorry. Councilman Taylor?
Thank you for your hard work.
You're welcome.
Spec buildings, right?
Spec building, speculative building, a spec building. And as you
Spec
saw on that slide, there are already 4, or there were 4 in the region.
Mhm.
So who we're competing with, or who you all are competing with, spec-wise, is Amherst has 1 right now that's for sale. Campbell has a 10 that's in use. They're building a 100,000 square foot spec building. Bedford had 1 at 40,000, which Belvac went into. And you see, Belvac is in Lynchburg.
Yes.
But they needed a place to grow, and they didn't have a place for them to grow
And
within the
we're gonna have
city.
spec buildings in Lynchburg.
Yes. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, you
Appreciate you.
too. Okay, up next, the Office of Economic Development and Tourism, Sports Tourism Update, Ms. Margette Upshur, who, by the way, I saw running up Vermont Avenue this weekend, and we pulled over and played Eye of the Tiger at our window for her, so she had some music.
It was amazing. I am now the most famous. All my running group goes, who has the mayor stop and play a song for you while you're running? But I appreciated it more than you know, and I appreciate standing upright after the Virginia 10 miler, which was an unbelievable event. So I just want to say before we start all this, if you ever seen a wild stallion at the gate when somebody was talking, like I almost had to be restrained back there, because for everything Megan can tell you, I've been here for 20 years now and I can lament right in there. But I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for leaning in on CIP. That's the first investment in CIP for industrial buildings since I have been here. So the work to get there. Lynchburg is an old city, and we're a city in the middle of 4 rural counties. And therefore, we don't have the greenfield space that they might have, but we also supply the biggest part of the jobs in this entire region. So thank you very much. I just want to say that. We are moving through this, and I hope to have your continued support, as you've heard from Megan. It's not that we're not making it to the pageant. We are making it to the pageant, and I would just say from the last 2 really big prospects we had, they thought we were awesome. So now I'm going to move to the other part of the economy, which is going to be tourism, which is also a great asset here in the city of Lynchburg, and I'm going to run through it like the FedEx guy, okay? Just so you know. So, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council, thank you for the opportunity to share an update on the city's sports tourism efforts and how we are, no pun intended, knocking the ball out of the park. I want to recognize, before I get started, my phenomenal sales manager, Andrew Marks, in the back there, that's absolutely killing it. I'm telling you, his production in selling the city for meetings, conferences, sports tourism is unparalleled. So he is the wind beneath my wings. And also, we have the greatest Parks and Rec director in the Commonwealth, Wyatt Woody. We are partnering like this to bring business to the city, not only for our residents, but also to offset some of that's going to take us to do the grading on some of these sites. So sports tourism is a powerful engine fueling both local and national economies. From tournaments to races to world-class events, sports tourism isn't just about spectators or participants, it drives real economic growth. Every event leaves an economic footprint that touches households, businesses, and governments alike. Virginia is a standout, and according to the Sports Event and Tourism Association State of the Industry report, Virginia ranked in the top 10 of sports tourism impact for 2023. And to put that in perspective, in a study by the Virginia Tourism Corporation, they found in 2022 alone, sports tourism contributed almost $2.7 billion in direct visitor spending. And this accounted for nearly 8% of Virginia's overall visitor economy. So 50% of the events that we brought into Lynchburg we worked tirelessly to attract visitors all the time through various events, including sports, meetings, conferences, motor coach group travel. But in 2024, out of the 100 definite and assisted events, this man works tirelessly, booked by our team, 50% were sports related. This reflects a 20% overall increase in confirmed events from FY23 and a 24% surge in sports booking. The demand for sports tourism in the city is growing faster than ever. Economic impact, you can see on this graph, sport tourism was the first segment to bounce back after COVID-19 pandemic, and it hasn't looked back since. This graph illustrates the rapid recovery and accelerated growth of the sports tourism market in Lynchburg. In FY24, Lynchburg hosted 41 youth, collegiate, and adult sporting events, resulting in a staggering $9.43 million in direct visitor spending. From the Atlantic Lacrosse Conference tournament to multiple Virginia Commonwealth Game events and the Special Olympics of North America National Softball Invitational. These are all, like, when you hear the names of these things, you're thinking, how in the world did they even hear about us? It like kind of goes back to Megan. We're always out there prospecting. When people come here, no matter where the field is, the lacrosse folks were at the stadium. The mayor was there for the Special Olympics, was in Peachview Park. So the future looks even brighter for us because we've already confirmed 31 sporting events for this fiscal year, which will result in $13.3 million in direct spending. So we have legacy events like I talked to you at the last meeting about, like the Virginia 10 miler, Storming Thunder Ridge, and the Turkey Trot. These events have been going on in the city for over 50 years. The Virginia 10 miler, as I told you the last time, founded in 1974, is, and I went back and checked this, is one of the oldest 10 milers in the whole United States. As a matter of fact, I think it's number 2 or 3 in the United States. Anchor partnerships. We're always trying to develop partnerships with our anchor institutions, which are the colleges and universities, along with the healthcare system. Sporting events, why we went down this road is because, quite frankly, of Liberty's unbelievable facilities, because everybody would love to have a tournament at Liberty. But we just want you to know that it's beyond attracting things there. It's supporting them when they have conference championships, NCAA regionals, and national championships. Our partnership is crucial because we help provide the lodging, or help send out all the information for these folks to get lodging. And we also offer bid fees to deliver a strong return on investment. We've also developed a scholastic sports visitor guide. So each one of our colleges, when they have a sporting team come, we give them a guide that shows them what restaurants can take a whole team and host them, right? If they come in on the bus, where can they go in the city of Lynchburg? That's like a welcome mat that we're giving to each one of the anchor institutions to pass out to their visiting team. So in 2025, we're going to host 7 collegiate conference championships and the NCAA Division Men's Regional Golf Tournament. And that's a testament to the strength of these partnerships. We also have partnerships with several consultants. The Huddle Up Group has helped us originally to do the sports tourism plan that we put into place. And they have a website, and that website allows us to put every facility in the city and the region on that website, so events rights holders can go and look at that at any time of the day or night. We even went one step further, and that was we took virtual reality. We went to all the colleges and took virtual, so it looks like you're on the basketball court while the Liberty game is being played. This has been used to help students when they come into the portal and have only a limited amount of time to decide what college they're going to go to, but we're using that on the sales floor to let people that have events rights see themselves in the basketball court, on the football field, all of the above. So I also want to let you know that some of the events that we're bringing here will blow your mind. We, including that Lynchburg's first United Flag Football League tournament happened here. Flag football is going to come for the LA Olympics in 2028. And they have already decided that they canceled where they were meeting before, it will remain unnamed, and decided to come back here. So they're at CVU. They're out at the soccer complex that we have, but they loved it. They loved everything about it. There were 47 teams. Like when you're walking around at the community market, there were 47 teams out at the CVU that were all coming and enjoying being in Lynchburg. So also, I hope that some of you got to go to the PDGA. Lynchburg was on the world stage in August as the host city for the Professional Disc Golf Association Pro World Championships. That's a mouthful. This event brought 300 athletes from 12 countries and attracted over 12,500 spectators, generating, drum roll please, 4.5 million in direct spending. Thank you. I just always get so fired up, I don't turn the slides. I need to have help. Anyway, this was unbelievable, right? The fact that they even, I mean, I'm thinking I took a risk by saying we'll do this. We partnered with Bedford County. Wyatt and I have big plans for the future. We want to become a stop for disc golf all around here. It was absolutely amazing what went on there. So I am very, very excited, and we've already gotten another Pro Tour Championship in 2025 with an estimated 1.9 million in direct spending. So Lynchburg sports tourism future, thank you so much, Greg, is incredibly bright. And I've told you all this before. We're not just building a place to visit. We're building a community where people want to live, work, and invest. And as the destination marketing guru, Mara Gass says, build a place where people want to visit, and you'll build a place where people want to live. Build a place where people want to live, and you'll build a place where business needs to be, along with a small 100,000 square foot spec building. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Any
so
questions?
much. Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? No?
Thank you.
Well, as always, awesome and very exciting. And we love when people come spend their money in our city. So we love the sports, but we love what comes with it. So well done, team. And I echo what she said about Andrew and Wyatt. Great hires and great hard work. And we just appreciate what all of y'all do. So I'd play Eye of the Tiger for you if I had it on available. But anyway, good job, y'all. Okay, moving on to our business item briefings. Consolidation of erosion control and stormwater management requirements and revising illicit discharge requirements. This item will appear before council for action on October 22nd, 2024. Ms. Erin Hawkins.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. I appreciate being able to come up and give a very brief summary of what's going to come before you in October. What we'll go over very quickly is just a quick summary of the existing programs that we've had in our community for decades now, some of the recent actions taken by the state, and really where this is moving forward for us. For a number of years, for actually 21 years now, the city has held an MS4, which is a municipal separate storm sewer system permit. So an MS4 is a common vernacular for it in the stormwater world with the state. And so with that comes certain responsibilities. What we have with that is, one, an erosion sediment control program, which lives in one state regulation. We have the Virginia Stormwater Management regulations that live in another regulation, and those have simply been combined. That has been streamlined into the erosion and stormwater management program at the state level. And so what we're doing here is combining our ordinances to mimic and be in alignment with what the state has done. And we have had these programs, I think at least since 1997 for the ENS is probably, and it predated my employment here at the city. So that's the earliest that I remember it being, but it may even been earlier than that. Stormwater management, since 2008, we have had the ordinances that we've had. And as far as the illicit discharges as well, we've also had that on the books. And this is all requirements of our MS4 program. We work with this across multiple departments. So community development handles the ENS and stormwater for new development and redevelopment sites in the city of Lynchburg, including the economic development aspect of it for these the sites that we have talked about before now. And then water resources manages the remainder of the MS4, including the illicit discharge program. So really what has happened at the state level is that for the past about 10 years, they have been working to consolidate the regulations. It's no small feat and has taken a number of years to be able to get it to this point. But that has been enacted this year. So we are simply just aligning our ordinances with the state requirements. So we're taking chapter 16.1 and chapter 16.2 and putting it all into 16.1. That's just simply what we're doing. But what this does, it aligns the ENS regulations, the stormwater regulations, the vernacular that goes in that, making sure that we don't have duplications or inconsistencies within the regulations themselves, the definitions as it applies to the different regulations. But what this means today, and I can't stress this enough at this time, it is not changing the regulatory environment as we see it today. This is not adding any further E&S or stormwater management requirements on development at this point in time. It is simply just the consolidation of the two regulations into one. And that's really going to be, what you have before you in October 22nd, when this comes before council. It's just to align the ordinances. Now, in doing that, the illicit discharge piece has been a component of our stormwater ordinance for a number of years. It really can be a standalone. So since we are combining 16.2 into chapter 16.1, we're just proposing illicit discharge to remain as is a standalone ordinance 16.2. So, and no changes associated with that, other than clerical changes within the MS4 permit and regulations that were adopted or that went into effect earlier this year. But there was no changes to those regulations. And so with that, I'll be happy to take any questions that you might have at this time.
Thank you so much. Any questions from anyone on council? Comments? No? Okay. Thank you for
Thank you
your
so much.
presentation. We appreciate it. Okay, moving on to 273 Riverside Drive, rezoning R2 low medium density residential district to RC, conservative district and flume amendment, low density residential to resource conservation, Riverside Conservation. This item will appear before council for action on October 22nd, 2024. Ms. Rachel Fishheisen, hello.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. The subject property at 273 Riverside Drive contains about 8 acres total, and the purpose is to, as mentioned, is to rezone and amend the future land use map. The petitioner has indicated that they wish to conserve this undeveloped property. Planning Commission has recommended approval of the petition. The northern portion of the property is currently zoned RC, Conservation, which is seen here in green, and the southern portion of the property is zoned R2 low medium density residential, as you see in yellow. The R2 portion is proposed to be rezoned to RC so that if approved, the entire parcel would have that RC zoning. As seen on this side, this slide, left is current zoning and the right would be the proposed. The future land use map currently recommends resource conservation, again in green, and low density residential in yellow. Low density residential areas are meant to contain single family detached housing at densities of up to 4 dwelling units per acre. And the petition proposes to amend that low density portion of the flume to resource conservation. Again, the entire parcel would be the resource conservation if approved. These resource conservation areas are meant to encompass lands with special natural characteristics that limit land use and development to protect our city's environmental health, including areas of steep slopes, stream valleys, and areas planned to remain in a vegetated open state. In its current state, the property does fit the description of a resource conservation area. It is undeveloped, consisting of vegetative open space, and has very steep slopes. As you can see on this map, there are parts of the property that have upwards of 40% slope. And in addition to these factors, it's really not feasible to develop land into residential homes as there is insufficient access to the property. The nearest right-of-way is unimproved and narrow at only 30 feet wide, and it does not actually adjoin the right-of-way. Planning Commission recommended approval of the petition on September 11th, and this will return for council action on October 22nd.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay. You are up next, so just stay where you are. 1600 Graves, do you have a question? No? You didn't have your hand up? You're good. 1600 Graves Mill Road, rezoning B3C Community Business District conditional to B3C Community Business District conditional, Rosedale Gas Station. This item will appear before council for action on October 22nd, 2024. Ms. Rachel Fishheisen.
Thank you again. The property located at 1600 Graves Mill Road is a 62-acre tract, of which 3 3/10 is proposed for rezoning to revise these proffers. Planning Commission has recommended denial of the petition. The portion proposed for rezoning is considered part of the Rosedale Cluster Commercial Development and is zoned B3C Community Business District conditional, which was established in 2 phases in 2014 and 2015. Along with the rezonings, conditional use permits were also approved to create the Cluster Commercial District. The petition proposes to amend previously approved proffers by allowing an adjusted concept plan for the convenience store site. The plan proposes adjusting the orientation of the fueling station canopy, parking, and building location. The concept plan from 2014 and 15 showed the convenience store with the building being located on the corner of the intersection with Graves Mill Road and Rosedale Boulevard, with the gas canopies and parking areas located to the side and rear of the store. This was in keeping with the pedestrian-oriented Main Street style development that was presented as part of the original petition for the Rosedale Cluster Commercial Development by locating the building up front on the corner, which is important when trying to achieve a pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development, which again is what the Rosedale project was intended to be. The plan showed parking to the rear and the side. This layout was an intentional choice that was made by the petitioner to pull the buildings up toward the street and move the canopies and parking back in order to meet the design goals articulated in our comprehensive plan. The petitioner has requested that the canopy be located in front of the store along Graves Mill Road, with the building set back from the street and a parking area fronting Rosedale Boulevard. The layout is contrary to the walkable mixed-use development that the area received previous approvals to become. While the placement of the gas canopy and parking may seem trivial, it is design choices like these that have a direct impact on the overall functionality of the development. The Rosedale development was presented and approved by City Council as the walkable Main Street style development. Some of the goals of the original layout that layout met are listed, as you can see here and in the report. And understandably, things have evolved like all projects do. When we have a petition where there's a condition or a proffer for substantial compliance with the plan, there's always some flexibility. However, it would be inappropriate to move away from the design principles that were meant to serve as this project's foundation. Planning Commission recommended denial of the petition on September 11th, and this will also return for City Council public hearing on October 22nd.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Foldy?
Can you go back one slide, please? All right, so help us get oriented if we can. So on the left was the original design.
Yes, correct.
The right is what they would like to do.
Correct.
Forgive my ignorance. The bottom is Old Graves Mill Road in both.
Yes.
The road is on the left-hand side, but on the right, the road is on the right.
Yes. So the
How does that work?
well, so it's not so much the gas station use itself. That could be at any point along the front of the property. So in the original design, it was maybe imagined to be on the left side of that road. I guess circumstances have precipitated it moving to the right, just best fit or whatever. It's not so much the side of the road that's important. It's more of the layout of the site in relation to the streets.
Well, thank you for your answer. Very good. Is not the right-hand side of the road on top of a massive wall and the left-hand side not?
So the retaining wall, I'm not sure how, I believe it's set back from both sides, but I would have to verify that
I
to be
might
sure.
check too.
I don't know that a retaining wall was originally shown on the concept plan or in play at that time.
Well, it's there.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is now.
Yeah.
But in
I'm willing to
terms-
be wrong. I'll have to drive by and take a look. First off, it was a little bit confusing to be like, what's going on here? Why that change? Then secondly, throw in the fact that there's this massive retaining wall. Now you're going on the other side. First and foremost, my concern is traffic, because what they're proposing to change to is taking, and listen, I want this project because desperately so. I want this to be here. But you take this away, the left-hand side, clearly there's a light proposed for traffic. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes in and out in variety of ways. 6 or 7 lanes on Old Graves Mill. Change that into, now you have to pull entirely into, on the right-hand side, you have to pull into the project, you can't see this, but there's a circle there, go around the circle, come in, and then turn left into a 2-lane situation, just if you want to get into this redesigned gas station.
Also, they do have, they are proposing a turn lane into the site off of Graves Mill Road,
Okay.
which was not part of the previous plan.
So now we're taking stuff, we're reducing, like you said, the walkability. I'm trying to draw the picture of removing the walkability that was proposed initially by putting that, as you pointed out, that turn lane in off of Old Grace Mill that does impact the ability of pedestrian use. Do we know why they want to do this? What's the justification?
They have not presented any alternate designs. They have said that this is what the tenant is asking for. So that's what they have put forward.
We've had a lot of issues in this neck of the woods with DEQ, with the Department of Environmental Quality, with runoff, stormwater, just consuming the road. I'm very skeptical about changing this. Have we, for those reasons and traffic, final question to let someone else pitch in here. Have we put any additional conditional use permits or anything related to this project since the concept was initially designed?
There have not been any additional conditions placed by the city. However, in order to move forward with their subdivision plat, they are having to work out some things with the EPA.
Nothing we've had to do.
No council actions.
Okay. Further concern then, if we adopt this, who's to say they can't come back and say, well, we also want to change this. Now we want to change that. If they were playing ball with us a little bit, especially with the amount of runoff that every other month is showing up on social media, maybe, but there's a lot of concerns with this project. There's a lot of concerns with the fact that they're changing it. If you're going from one side of the road to the other, while staff may not say that's a big deal, wait a minute, that you are changing the entire makeup of what you want to do that was agreed to. So for those reasons, I strongly lead and request my colleagues to vote no when this comes up, unless we can at least get a justification for other than preference. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sure. Anyone else? Council missions?
When you look at the whole, you probably don't have the whole phase one on your slideshow, do you? The whole,
No, not in this
Because, I mean,
slide, not in this
I
slide
think,
deck.
I think the little clip you have on the left-hand side doesn't really give justice for people watching to what the difference is. Because when you look at this, you've almost got kind of like a shared parking lot. Is that what that looks like with another site or close to it? And there's a scenic corridor overlay and lots of different features about that first. Maybe it's not quite a shared parking lot, but it's,
Yes, and
you
it
see what I
is,
mean?
it is shown on page 80, 180 of the packet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at. And it's completely different. Not even close to the same. And I don't think I need to go out on a limb to say that the reason that they want to do the right side instead of the left side is because of cost, right? But I can tell you on the right side, I am completely out with dumping out on Grays Mill Road. All of that traffic out of that complex needs to come out at that light. So just that one piece alone, dumping out on Grays Mill Road is a no-go for me, just to be clear. That's a busy road. We just did a lot of improvements at that intersection, putting lights up to make that as safe as possible. If we have cars just coming out of a convenience store dumping out on a Grays Mill Road when they should all be coming out of that light, I think that's something we should be avoiding. But I'm not sold on the change. I just kind of want to be clear about that. But am I right about that, about the difference? It's kind of like it's really a totally different and I'm sure it's probably got something to do with cost is what it comes down to. But if they give us a design and we approve that design, that's what they should stick with.
Anyone else?
I just have a question. Originally, this was not in the original plan, this gas station, right?
The convenience store was shown as part of the plan. That's what we're looking at on the left of the screen here. However, the layout was different, and as Councilmember Missions and Vice Mayor Feraldi pointed out, it's a different location.
So in reading the minutes from the commissioner's report, it sounds like they wanted it to be more visible by moving the building to the other side.
They also talked about pedestrian traffic going between the canopy. Again, that was new information presented to us at that meeting, and we have not seen any alternative sites.
So I just had a little bit of concern about, from the original plan, there's all that talk about destroying some of the walkability when they move it over. So I was wondering if that was an issue at all. Yeah.
Okay.
For the commissioners, I think it was an issue.
Yes, walkability was a concern.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Oh, okay, Vice Mayor.
In the original plan, I can't pull up here. Was there a traffic circle proposed at the central hub of their design? I'm looking at the packet, and if I'm missing that, please enlighten me, but that
Should be page 180. Flipping through the wrong folder.
I'm scrolling. Oh, I you need to keep scrolling.
It was shown as a traffic circle, yes.
Okay. So Councilmember Missions brought up something that I didn't consider, and I think it's a fair point. So we have installed a traffic light already.
Mhm.
Would we need to reprogram that in some capacity or change this? Is there anything, all of a sudden now, do we need to change what we're doing on Old Bridgeville Road to make up for what they want to do here that isn't directly associated in this packet?
So engineering didn't have any comments of concern on the rezoning as far as the alternate layout. I will point out, it is a right-in, right-out off of Graves Mill Road, so there shouldn't be any traffic coming directly from this development onto Graves Mill Road itself. It should be routed back through the traffic circle to the light.
Did the petitioner speak anything of the two restaurants and the grocery store that the convenience store, the gas station, which we expected, which they're now saying goes on the left-hand side in place of where the grocery store is supposedly going to be, or specialty store? Did they include, is that going to be saved on the other side now?
They have not indicated if that is the case. They haven't said that.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm wow.
I also want to clarify that I don't want them killed. Right? Like I don't want the project to be killed. I want to make sure they get the project done, but that's a bait and switch is the way I see it, right? That's a bait and switch on us by the developer, and I'm not a fan of that. So if there's some sort of compromise in the middle, I think we can probably figure that out.
Okay.
Further question. I'm sorry, but this has a lot of things entangled in it, and zoning is incredibly important. Mr. City Attorney, if the original concept design called for a grocery store or specialty store, and by putting this on the other side of the street, how does that not, this to me seems far more than a conditional use permit. Am I misunderstanding something here? Because that is entirely different than, that's not just, we wanted to change the rotation here. This is like on the other side of the street, and you're pulling out another asset that they said they were going to bring.
So
Help me understand.
you're referring to approvals, say a site plan that's been approved as part of a conditional use permit or some other permitting process. Is that right?
I think so. What I'm trying to say is they said that there's going to be a grocery or specialty store where they now want to move the gas station to. is the gas station saved? And if it's not, how can that simply be like a simple CUP?
So I might defer to city staff on that, and I say that because it may be the interpretation of what can be allowed under the plans themselves, is whether they're, I guess, what would constitute a violation of an approved plan or something like that. And that's something that's typically a discretionary matter. So I might leave that to Rachel and Tom.
Nice.
So when we talked about this internally as staff, the zoning administrator, director, and myself, it was less about the side of the street and more about the layout of the actual site and the design principles that were presented. We've seen this happen before. A project is presented at one thing, and then over time, the things that make it appealing kind of get chipped away. Like you called it a bait and switch. That's one way to phrase it, or someone did. So it was, yes, Mr.
I'm pretty close to calling
Councilmember
that too, but-
Mischins. So it was for the zoning administrator's interpretation, which is really what it comes down to. It was less about the location of the individual uses and more about the uses and their orientation as part of that walkable mixed-use development. So if they came back and said, hey, we've recruited the tenant for the grocery store, retail, whatever parcel, we want to put it over here now. And if it goes through TRC, there's no major hurdles like the traffic is being generated differently and now it's going to affect the light and all that thing. As long as they can follow our code and meet the spirit and intent of what I believe the CCD and the rezoning with proffers tried to do, then my feeling is the zoning administrator would approve that. But because we're getting away from what was originally intended with the approvals, that's why we're here today.
Wonderful response. If the grocery store is now out of the mix entirely and we didn't see it, hear it, or understand it because it's not in the CUP, and you see what I'm trying to say? Like if it's gone, how does that? I don't even know how to ask the question, but I think folks are understanding what the problem is. Like, I mean, you've taken at least one asset out, and I see 2 restaurants that were supposedly proposed. And if I kept going down the line, 3-story mixed use, there's 2 of those, and on the other side of the street, 2 separate 2-story mixed use. Like, does this one CUP vote completely just gut the project as we understand it, and can they just continue to do what they want to do without our oversight? I want a cup of coffee from this place, but not this bad.
Okay.
Councilman Mischins?
Can we ask them to submit a completely revised site plan with this new change, since it's that drastic? Is that something that we're able to do?
I suppose we could ask the question. I don't know that we could require it.
I think there's enough here with the questions that you posed about the overall project that we go back to the developer and say, to your point, Mr. Vice Mayor and Mr. Mischins, what you've been making, there are differences here now that you have the ability within what's been proposed to pivot towards if you want to. Yes, there is a concern, and having done so, does then that limit the amount of square feet to house if what was proposed, and I don't know the development myself, it's a 30,000 square foot grocery store, then whether or not that fits, right? And so what we can do, to your point, Mr. Mischins, is we can go back to the developer with all these questions, all of these, what you've said, and kind of give the overall tone and or tenor that we saw here this afternoon, and see whether or not they're willing to kind of make an explanation.
Yeah, because I mean, this stuff's kind of happened here before, I think, with some of these developments as they've been proposed, and then they change as the. You know,
And I think to answer,
I'd say I remember going all the way back to Windhurst when that was developed.
and what you'll find, or at least in my limited experience over the 20 plus years in doing this, is that a development that's been proposed, and I think in this instance it maybe has been conveyed to a new developer over time, and you heard this evening about the timing of the market, that the things that proposed may have been at that time maybe more viable as a possible opportunities. And then it's, in my opinion, again, wearing slightly had, is it's then within the purvey of the council to decide whether or not they're prepared to be open to offering that the development itself change within what's been proposed, which gives you that latitude. But I think these are all very permissible questions and things that with the time between now and the 22nd, we'll have time to capture and give to the developer and say that they need to be, when present that evening, prepared to answer these questions, if not beforehand. And if we get them beforehand, just like the memo that we put together, we will put those into the memorandum that we send to you usually a week ahead of this opportunity. And
Because right now, I think like this vote for tonight, where I'd be at is let's table this thing, bring us a revised site plan, and revisit. That's where I'm at right now.
very helpful for staff to
That's
hear
where I'm at.
what I think I see some nodding heads, not just simply from the vice mayor and yourself, but some other folks. I think those are things that will be prepared on the 22nd, that if we're not there, we'll come back ahead of it and just tell you that developers working on whatever the responses are, or we haven't gotten there, and the submission is the submission, that kind of thing. So.
Final point, and just really digging in, this was approved before I got on council. Just looking at the original proposal, it's not even close to what's there right now, like remotely close. So, and we didn't, as I understand it, in the last 4 years, we haven't voted to change anything. So now all of a sudden I've got even bigger questions. And as much as I do want to give an opportunity for, someone to come forward so we can ask questions, I'm not sure they want to answer some of the questions that I'm prepared to ask at this point.
Understood.
Okay. Moving on to 1101 and 1107 Fifth Street, conditional use permit, Fifth Street Auto Body Shop. This item will appear before council for action on October 22nd, 2024. Ms. Fresheisen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. The subject property at 1101 and 1107 Fifth Street is asking for a conditional use permit to allow the use of the existing structure as an auto body shop. Planning Commission has recommended approval with the listed conditions. This project should look familiar. The 1101 Fifth Street parcel was proposed for a rezoning from B4 to B5 earlier this year, which was denied. The zoning ordinance allows for auto body repair upon approval of a CUP from council, which the petitioner decided to pursue after that rezoning was denied. So that's why this project has come back to you. The properties are included in our Fifth Street Corridor Master Plan, which was adopted in 2006 to provide a vision and blueprint for the revitalization of Fifth Street. There have been significant public and private investments in the area that follow the vision of the master plan, and land use decisions should support that vision, just as the public investment has. The master plan explicitly recommends against the expansion of auto-oriented uses. The rezoning petition that was denied by council in July would have allowed the expansion of auto-oriented uses and permitted several other more intense and inappropriate uses, which is the main concern for planning staff during that petition. In contrast, the CUP petition allows a specific use within the existing building without altering the zoning. The auto body repair use should not be detrimental to the surrounding area as long as it is limited to occur within the existing structure and the recommended conditions are followed. Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition on September 11th, 2024, and this will also come back for a public hearing on October 22nd with council.
Great. That's great to hear. Anybody have any comments on that? Questions? No? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the 2025 legislative agenda draft. This item will appear before council for action on October 22nd, 2024.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council, Mr. Vice Mayor, and birthday guy. I'm excited to be in front of you again to present the 2025 legislative agenda. This package is a true reflection of your shared priorities and is positioned for a vote on October 22nd. We've carefully prepared this agenda with one focus in mind, setting Lynchburg up for success. To keep that momentum going, you will have a dedicated resource available to you at your November 19th legislative dinner. First, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to City Council. Working with you to compile these priorities has been an absolute pleasure, and together we built something powerful for our city's future. Let's take a look at what makes this year's agenda so special. Of course, we've stayed true to your core values: lifelong learning, public safety, and economic development. These have been the bedrock of your priorities year after year, and for good reason. They are essential for our community's growth and safety. In your packets, you'll see some previous requests, the things that you know well. Things like educational funding, support for our public safety teams, and economic growth and workforce development strategies. But this year, we've added some additional priorities. Working closely with you, staff, and various stakeholders, we've crafted a new set of requests. These are these are designed to strengthen our city's foundation and pave the way for a safer, more vibrant Lynchburg. Please look for them in your packet, styled with an asterisk, and everything is in alphabetical order. At the heart of this agenda is a commitment to providing educational opportunities that set our children up for long-term success. Lifelong learning remains a top priority, and we are advocating strongly for necessary funding for our schools to ensure that every child in Lynchburg has the tools to thrive. This year, we're continuing our support for an elected school board, empowering our community to have a direct say in the leadership that shapes their educational system. New to the agenda this year is an exciting initiative that aligns with the governor's focus on improving educational benchmarks across the state. We are advocating for a literacy program that will give children the foundational skills they need to read confidently, ensuring they're prepared for the demands of secondary education. Let's dive right into public safety, another strong pillar of your agenda. We're pushing this year for enhanced authority for the Virginia ABC Commission to suspend licensing in the event of an act of violence, notwithstanding anything that is considered self-defense. Driving under the influence of marijuana is a continuing growing concern. We're calling for funding for that mandated funding pharmacy changes to help the fire department streamline their operations. And of course, these reckless street takeovers we've seen. These are the wheelies and the street racing that are putting our residents in danger. We will continue our fight against blighted properties and derelict housing, improve clarity on the use of drones by employees, and propose new measures against willfully discharging firearms in public. We remain steadfast in our support for 599 funding, expanding protection under the Line of Duty Act, and continuing our advocacy for 911 operators, an important part of the public safety response team. Public safety has always been and will continue to be a top priority for Lynchburg. The expansion of this year's legislative agenda reflects that commitment. Now on to economic development. This year, we've added an exciting new request. We're asking the state to support local legislation that makes aviation parts and supplies tax credits permanent. This is a key opportunity to boost economic development in a growing sector. We want to keep Lynchburg on the map, a thriving hub for business and innovation. This agenda will protect localities' ability to assess business license taxes, modernize the communication sales and use tax, and continue expanding economic development grants and programs that have already driven success. Finally, just a few things that deserve your attention. We're continuing to ask for support for our state-supported local employees. They are, after all, part of our Lynchburg family. We're committed to protecting the city from unfunded mandates which strain our resources. Now I'm going to add that component for the hazardous material that you mentioned, Councilman Mischens. And we want to explore the creation of a general statute of limitation for challenging ordinances and resolutions of governing bodies, a small but impactful change that could save time and resources. So there you have it. That's your 2025 legislative agenda. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I am excited about this balanced and forward-looking plan that serves the community. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ms. Braun. Thank you for all your hard work on it. You've done
my pleasure,
an
guys.
amazing job.
Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Frawley?
I'd like us to add or consider adding another item if we can. A couple years ago, there was an effort to remove mandatory minimums for violent crime and use of deadly force, I believe.
Okay.
In the act of a crime, I believe we should reconsider those, or at least ask the General Assembly to reconsider those. Can you speak a little bit to school funding for construction and rehab, what we already have in there, and if we need to put stronger emphasis on it?
Yes. So right now what we have is educational funding. Just this is supporting the quality, the standards of quality to more accurately reflect staffing levels. So that's one area. And then the other area we have is funding for infrastructure. These are old favorites that we continue to fight for. The literacy program is new. Is that what you would like to hear about as well,
I
or
just
just
wanted
focus?
to
Okay.
put emphasis on that there are priorities in the package for school construction.
Yes, sir.
Don't know if we need to put a stronger emphasis on it, but I would be interested in spicing up that language, especially on the school construction component. The state continues to receive billion after billions of dollars in surplus, and it's a constitutional item that the General Assembly shall provide for a quality education for all Virginians. We can't continue to be the ones to be asked to increase revenue or funding streams to accommodate those items. And so I think the state needs to kick it up a notch.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Anyone else in there? No? Councilman Missions?
We completely erased school choice funding this year. That was on there last year.
I had a request from a council.
What's that?
I had a request to remove it. We can add it back if you
Yeah,
guys all want
we
to do that.
absolutely need to put that back because these tax dollars for education should totally be following the child to the school, the parent's choice. It's an absolute, we got lots of families in our city that are paying both for the public schools and then also to send their kids to private school. And, we've got to remember that they are also our constituents in our tax base, and we need to consider them.
Vice Chair Ferranti?
If we could have an update either right now or our memo, what other things may have been removed from last year, that'd be helpful.
If it suits council, I can put it in a memo. That way you guys can see it word for word and there isn't anything in discussion that gets lost. Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other comments on what's currently in what was just presented? Or questions?
I'm comparing the two. The ECO TDO thing, is that still,
That's still there, sir.
that's still there?
Mhm.
That's another big one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Okay, moving on to roll call. Councilman Helgeson.
Just wanted to, maybe this is, about a year and a half ago, we talked about funding and talked about where we could maybe do our comprehensive plan internally. But then we hired a consultant and spent money. But that's been quite some time. Haven't heard any updates. All I've seen as far as some updates are some pictures on the internet with that in our website that shows people riding bicycles in what, maybe used to have been car lanes. And I know there's lots of questions. That's kind of leading questions, I think, with regarding the comprehensive plan to push for road diets. I think we've talked about the negative consequences of road diets and pushing that in a comprehensive plan. I don't think that's a prudent way to go, especially when you ask, questions that are kind of leading. You can get a result out of the 15 people that showed up, but it can be a little leading. Also, with that, it'd be nice to know, to make sure that some of those properties that are, they may be zoned one way, but the future land use map, which is part of the comprehensive plan, is saying it may make some changes. And I hope that isn't the case, because we have people, investors that buy property based on what the future land use map is, based on what it's called for. And so they buy and invest and, planning on investing and making other housing projects and stuff in other parts of the city. So I hope that those aren't being changed. So, but it'd be nice to have an update. Haven't heard anything in a year and a half or whatever about that year or so.
Dr. Wilder?
Yes, just real briefly. Again, we had a great weekend. They had the day at the Point, at Point of Honor. It was an amazing, beautiful day. I want to commend the staff for all that out, Ted and Margette for out there on Saturday. Had a beautiful crowd. So it's great to have things in our community that families can all attend. So we appreciate that, as well as the event at Party on Pierce was also another great event we have in our community. So I'm so glad to see some great things going on. I want to commend the staff for the event at White Rock. Really engaging the community to see what they want in this building that has been closed down. So I want to commend the staff for having that event 2 weeks ago. And also on the Riverviews, our space, they had a speaker, Tom Gerdy's brother. He spoke about using art as the economic driver for your community. I want to commend the Riverviews for bringing that to our community and bringing Dr. Gerdy to talk about some projects he did in Pennsylvania and how, we have a lot of art projects here in Lynchburg as well. It just shows how they use it there as an economic driver for your community. So I want to commend them off of that, and we continue to pray for our community and all the recent losses we had with the homicides and the one today, and so many things. We continue to pray for our community, for love and unity, and just pray for those families who's had those losses. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Dolan?
I have nothing.
Councilman Mischins?
Tell your kids if you think someone's following them that they probably shouldn't go home. You know, I know there's still facts coming out, but call 911, drive to a police station or fire station or something. To, you know, something, different circumstance. We need to make sure that we're keeping an eye on our kids and telling them how to make some smart decisions and pay attention to what's going on in their surroundings. You know, there's 4 homicides in our city since the last time we met. Pretty sure that's what we had all year up until that point. That's, it's too many. One's too many. We need to do whatever we need to do to unchain our law enforcement to aggressively pursue the people that committed these crimes, including previous homicides that still haven't been solved. We got to find these people and they got to be held accountable. That's all there is to it. And that message needs to be loud and clear. You know, this morning at 8:05, between 8 and 8:05, I'm in line dropping my son off at RS Payne. And then 10 minutes later, I get a notification on my phone less than 10 minutes later that WSET is going live 2 blocks away at the site of a homicide. I heard absolutely nothing. Nothing from the school division, nothing. Right? And on my way there, I'm seeing parents and their children walking to school. Right? And now I know I've read the update in the press release that, you know, there's, I guess, potentially somebody of interest, so to speak. But when you got something like that that happens 2 blocks away from a school, and the school division doesn't use their system to notify the parents of that school, when you've got parents and kids standing on street corners, you know, I know we don't know. Did it happen at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m.? I know we don't know that right away, right? But there's a lot of things that have come to my mind all day today since this morning. That was one of them. Parents absolutely need to be notified when there's stuff going on around their schools, right? Especially if there's any chance that there's somebody at large that may have committed that crime. Second is, I don't know what the heck we're doing with this school security officer program, but why aren't these guys armed? Why are they not armed? Because we got school security officers in the elementary school buildings wearing plate carriers, right? Now, I know our previous chair and vice chair of the school board completely submarined the idea of having more school resource officers, because that was another thing they could have pursued with the grant. We wouldn't be running through these issues because the school resource officers, being part of the police department, would be able to carry their sidearms. But now we're going through all this bureaucratic red tape. We got these guys at the school buildings, right? You know, they're going to be a shield until they're not, because they can't be armed for whatever reason. I don't know what the heck is going on and what has taken so long to get that done, but we need to get that done. We need to make sure we're doing everything we can do to protect those kids in those schools, right? I don't know where the disconnect is. I don't care where the disconnect is. We just need to find it and we need to fix it, because we got to protect those kids. You know, it's not really negotiable, you know? That's why I was late, because I was waiting until my son got home, just to make sure he was good. The second he got home from the bus, 3:45, I hit the road, right? But we gotta do that. We gotta protect those kids. We gotta find out who the heck has killed these people that we don't have any suspects for yet or whatnot. You know, that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes, I just pray for the bus driver that spotted him laying on his porch. And I know some children catch the bus right on that corner. And we just need to pray for those families, of those children, that those children would rest easy tonight. And we thank the Lord for our law enforcement being out there doing what they need to do. And it's personal with me. Any crime in the city, when you take a life, it's personal with me. Because I took an oath to help law enforcement, to help protect the citizens of our city. And like I said, it's personal with me. We pray for those families. Pray that all be well. Thank you.
Councilman Crawford?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I commend my colleagues for their comments, and I don't think I need to add to it. It's quite firm. It's on a bit of a lighter note. I had a request from somebody who has a concept. I would love to have the staff at some point respond to it. Here's the concept. So we allow short-term rentals in the city. We allow them all throughout, and they've proved the system we have seems to be working relatively well. The question was, okay, if I wanted to buy a plot of land and put in multiple, essentially, for argument's sake, camping spots to allow you to bring in multiple RVs or have permanent RVs there and be able to use those as an Airbnb, what regulations would there be against that? How would that be permitted? And the concept would really be to allow another form of folks to utilize their property to serve those coming into the city for whatever purpose. Largely speaking, probably for healthcare or the college system. But I know it's a bit of a difference with our Airbnb system, our short-term rental system. So I was curious how that would work, and I'd appreciate a follow-up on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Again, to echo the sentiments of my colleagues, we do offer our prayers and condolences to all the families who've been affected by the past week's tragedies, and also, again, to remember our public safety officials who do have to be part of these investigations and these events, because they see things that those of us who are not part of those apartments have to see, and they have to take that home with them. And sometimes they know the people and the families that they these cases, and that can be really hard. And so just, always remember and thank them. That's why we thank them for what they do, because it takes a special person to do that. So again, our thoughts and prayers are with all of you in the city. Also, PINK for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time to reflect on the strength and courage of those affected by this illness and to raise awareness about the importance of early detection, education, and research. Breast cancer remains one of the most common cancers, and increasing awareness is vital to improving outcomes for countless individuals and families. This cause is deeply personal for many, including individuals that we all know and admire. Their quiet resilience serves as a reminder of how this disease touches lives in ways we may not always see, and how crucial it is for us to continue fostering awareness, compassion, and support within our community. On a personal note, my sister, who is fighting breast cancer, just rang her bell last week for her final round of chemo. So I'm very happy for her, and I just pray that she is free of her illness after she finishes this round. So Yes. Okay, going to closed session. Consideration of a closed meeting to discuss the investment of public funds where competition of bargaining is involved, where if made public or discussed publicly initially, the financial interest and bargaining position of the city would be adversely affected pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A6 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. The subject of the closed meeting being specific to a Campbell County Utilities and Service Authority CCUSA sewer capacity request, and consideration of a closed meeting to discuss appointments for vacancies to the Social Services Advisory Board, Lynchburg Redevelopment and Housing Authority, Business Development Center, Greater Lynchburg Transit Company, Lynchburg Parking Authority, and Board of Zoning Appeals pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. May I have a motion to go into a closed meeting?
So moved.
Second. Okay. Any further discussion? Go ahead and cast your vote.
Yes.
Councilmember Hedlison? Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perotti?
Yes.
Mayor Reed? Mayor Reed?
Oh, yes.
Motion passes.
Sorry.